loses a home. It's not, oh, let's just rebuild it. It'll be up next, you know, in a couple of months. People can be out of their homes for years at a time.
Yeah.
What's scary about this, Gigi, is that we're still in the middle of this giant Santa Ana wind event. You know, this is far from over. And to your point, I was thinking of the video that I've been seeing, even of just these structures burned along Pacific Coast Highway on the ocean side. Even these places that people have frequented for a long time, like the Reel Inn. There was reports that the Mastro's was damaged, the Malibu feed bin also destroyed. So with daylight, we're going to see how widespread and how destructive this is. But no doubt, this is going to be almost apocalyptic when we see all of the damage and how much has been destroyed in this area and how much this community has to be rebuilt.
And we probably won't know for days, Bob, because right now the damage assessment teams, as they're called, they can't even get into these neighborhoods to take a toll, to take a tally of the loss. So we won't really know how many structures. We may get an estimate from aerial observations of how many structures were lost, but we're not really going to know that for days until this fire is basically out and those damage assessment teams can get inside, can walk these neighborhoods home by home and give us a tally of the loss. But it is going to be major. And our big concern and our thoughts and our prayers go out to all the folks that have been injured, folks that are in the hospital this morning with serious burn injuries, that LA City firefighter with a serious head injury, that man that was found on Pacific Coast Highway with burns all over his body, barely recognizable, the clothes actually burnt off his body. We mention that because it talks to the severity of the fire, what the circumstances were, and how he was caught in the fire. Obviously unclear, and unclear if he was even able to tell first responders. Yesterday, in the thick of it, when this was all happening, Bob and Brooke, there were people calling 911 from their swimming pools. I
heard that.
Bob and Brooke. They were sheltering inside the water of their swimming pool because the fire was all around them. I mean, how dramatic is that?
To see families and mothers literally carrying their babies and running down Palisades Drive to get out just because they couldn't even get into their cars and go. It's so shocking. So to know that someone actually got injured, you're also grateful that these people got out and they got out safely. But and heartbreaking that we can't get the air assets up just yet. So hopefully we'll get a respite from the winds. Okay, Gigi, those still some very dramatic pictures there. Still a big effort to save life and property.
Yes, thank you, Gigi. Bob, you know, you were just talking about like what we were watching all day yesterday, like people getting out of their cars. You saw people with babies. You saw people with giant horses, actually, just like walking through neighborhoods. You saw people with their pets, and also seeing video of people who were just out of sorts. Because of all of this, you know what I mean? They're running down the street through all of this smoke, and that was really jarring for me. Is that you kind of lose it a little bit as you're in a panic trying to get to safety.
And you know, some people have planned. You can plan as much as you can, and still, when you're in that moment, you know, panic sets in, and you just try to do what you can to try to save you and your family's life. We do want to show you this evacuation map and a Palisades map, pretty widespread here. This is provided to us by CAL FIRE, and you can see this spreads over a very large area.
Right.
And so this is stretched all the way basically down to the coast in the Palisades area. This started at Piedra Morada Drive, and then now is expanded eastward. So there's a little concern this morning for Brentwood. That area, the Palisades Village area, was also impacted as well. So everybody within this region pretty much is going to be impacted there. And of course, as we said, parts of Sunset, PCH, Topanga Canyon, all closed at this hour because of this fire. Now we're going to take you over to the Eaton fire. This is in the Altadena area, San Gabriel Mountains, and also because of the heavy winds, this has impacted a very large area. Started there in Altadena, there in the Eaton Canyon area, and then expanded very quickly over. So other areas impacted, of course, Sierra Madre and Pasadena as well. We'll have school closures in just a moment, but there's a lot.
Absolutely. And, you know, we were looking for updates from CAL FIRE. Obviously, you know, this is an all-hands-on-deck situation. And so the latest, of course, that we still have is nearly 3,000 acres burned in the Palisades fire, 2,921, Eden Fire at 1,000, and Hearst Fire at 500. All three of these fires at 0% containment. And again, that just goes to show what we're dealing with when it comes to how hard, Samada, the weather is making things for our firefighters.
Incredibly difficult out there. Brooke, Bob, good morning to you and to everyone that continues to be with us. Some viewers have been watching us since last night, so we do certainly appreciate you. And if you're just joining us now, we do have, again, some updates on our wind conditions. We are unfortunately in the thick of our peak winds as we had forecasted, and that range, the time frame from late last night through at least this early part of the morning. So keep that in mind, where ferocious winds continue to be right around 60 to even 80 plus miles an hour. And here's a look at the Palisades fire, where Gigi, of course, has been bringing us incredible images there and information. We've got winds, a range of 30 plus miles per hour. These are sustained wind velocities. Gusts could reach up to 50 miles an hour. And we did see that play out. Temperature ranges on the cooler side, and humidity continues to be dry. Similar conditions as we push into the Hearst fire near the Sylmar area. And again, the winds continue to be very strong going offshore. Powerful Santa Ana is also blowing through where the Eaton fire is. And that fire took place yesterday right around 6:23 in the evening, and gusts are reaching up to 46 miles an hour. So incredibly dangerous wind conditions. It continues to be a wind-driven fire. Then you add the dry fuel. So there's a lot of fuel out there for this fire to continue to rapidly grow. And as we know, and we've spoken about this repeatedly, that fires in and around that fire zone, they can also produce their own weather. When you have intense heat rising into the atmosphere, cooler air comes in to replace it, and it creates this erratic fire behavior and even the potential for fire tornadoes to occur. It creates also embers that can travel miles downwind. Long-range spotting, we also forecasted that to occur. So red flag conditions all across Southern California, not just LA County and Ventura County. We're calling this a particularly dangerous situation when you combine critical fire danger with damaging winds and low relative humidity. Any new fire ignition can explode. And we are going to be seeing these strong winds continue into the early part of this morning. There is some good news. Later this evening, we're going to see wind conditions subside. So eventually that will help firefighters tremendously, and we'll get those air assets back up in the air. Strongest winds over the last 24 hours. Hurricane force winds, we have been advertising that. Magic Mountain Truck Trail and area of the San Gabriel Mountains clocked in at 86 miles per hour. Fremont Canyon at 80 miles an hour, all the way out towards Running Springs at 74. Eaton Canyon, you can see how and why that fire continues to spread. 70-mile-an-hour winds at one point, and Rancho Cucamonga at 63 miles an hour. Here's a look at what is in store for Southern California as we make our way into the 4 a.m. as well as the 6 a.m. hour. No relief in terms of offshore winds. Those highlighted contour areas, those are locations that is going to continue to experience those heavy and strong winds out towards the 15 corridor through the Cajon Pass, downwind of the Santa Ana Mountains, and that does apply to San Bernardino and Riverside County Mountains as well. San Fernando Valley, Santa Clarita Valley, the San Gabriel Valley still in the danger zone. Through 9 a.m., not a whole lot of change as well as we experience again, those stronger winds offshore. Eventually, right around late afternoon into the evening, finally we'll notice those winds slightly subside, and it won't be until late night Wednesday that we'll really get a good handle on those winds and tame those conditions a little bit. A reminder, evacuation plan, so important. Make sure you stay up to date on our forecast. Have an emergency plan in place, and get your ready-to-go bag with your important papers, prescriptions, and of course, life is the most important thing when we're dealing with these dangerous conditions. We've been talking about Bob Brook,
how
this could potentially be a life-threatening situation. We're unfortunately seeing that unfold before our eyes, and widespread damaging winds that could continue to create power outages as well. We also remind folks, traffic-wise, in the fire zones, stay away, avoid the area. Take a look at the Palisades fire closures. PCH to Mescal Canyon Road to Las Flores Canyon Road remains shut down. Topanga Canyon Boulevard from Mulholland Drive to PCH due to red flag conditions shut down as well. And back to the Hearst fire closures there. Westbound 210 Yarnell Street to Roxford Street shut down. Northbound 5 at the 210 connector also will be shut down until further notice. Reminder to please drive carefully out there. It's still dark out. Sunrise is until 7 a.m. If you are on the roads at this hour, be extra mindful. A lot of debris. If you're driving near the fire zone, there's a lot of smoke as well. Just be careful out there.
And, you know, Samara, on that note of staying prepared, another way to stay prepared, especially I'm seeing on Twitter about many people saying, you know, what about my area? What about my area? They're worried about this, especially if you're worried about losing power or anything like that. Sign up for emergency alerts, right, from the state, from the county, all your local officials, and download the Fox Local app. Actually, I was using it just last night, just even moving around my place. Just click Los Angeles on that, and we're streaming live there as well. So if you lose power, you'll still be able to stay updated with the latest information. We really just want to keep you all safe. 3 fires burning right now in our area. Mario is in Sylmar at the Hearst fire, and now he has more on that.
Yeah, and I will say the fire is still raging. Sam Dubin behind the camera. I want to show you the flames that are making their way downhill here. We're at the Oak Ridge Mobile Estates community, a private community, and there are still residents here in the area that are evacuating. I have one family here. They're actually turning around. I asked where you're headed. They said they don't know, but away from here. So walk me through what this has been like for you all. Let me ask you guys in the back. What has this been like for you all? I know your mom is a little stressed up front.
I mean, it's nerve-wracking. You got people out here losing their homes. You got family, you know, under constant little stress. You know, it's really scary. You got people out here. You wonder if the neighbors are out. They're getting out of their homes okay. So, you know, right now we're just trying to get up out of this area. We're just trying to get to someplace safe, and we're praying for everybody. Was there any sort of alert or any type of emergency alert on your phones to leave home? There's constant alerts that's coming through over the phone. We just hope that everybody's getting them, you know, especially the people who didn't go to bed early, the older people who don't know. We just hoping that everybody gets out safe.
It's going to be like $12 billion.
Thank you. Appreciate you talking to us. Stay safe. So they're sort of trying to figure out exactly where to go from here because there hasn't been much time to prepare. So as we look here at these flames, I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on here. The Hearst fire started at about 50 acres around 10 o'clock last night, quickly growing to 500 acres in a few hours, and of course driven by those high winds that we've been feeling since yesterday and dry vegetation here in the area. Now this broke out near the freeway, the 5 freeway where it meets the 14 and the 210 freeways. Several areas under mandatory evacuations, which means leave now, and they include residents along Balboa Boulevard, Filbert Street, Brittle Ridge Road, and Nicholas Drive. We should also mention that a little farther north, the area near Whitney Canyon Park has also been ordered to evacuate. Evacuation warnings, which means you should be prepared to leave. They're in place for the Newhall Pass, Calgrove, and Wildwood areas, and that's basically a large portion, a large area north of the 210 freeway from Roxford Street. 3 evacuation centers have been set up. Richie Valens Rec Center on Laurel Canyon in Pacoima, Northridge Park, and the Sepulveda Recreation Center in Panama City. So we do see Panorama City, I should say. We do see fire crews here, LA County fire crews, but as we've been saying, there really is not much they can do as far as containing the fire. These winds are still whipping around. We talked about how strong they would be yesterday. Sustained gusts or sustained winds at 20 to 40 miles per hour, and those gusts up to 80 miles per hour. So we've definitely been feeling it here this morning. We don't see any homes damaged right now in this area. We know some of the other fires we've been talking about, several dozens of structures have burned. So we're keeping an eye on things here. But I did just talk to one person person who was headed down, and I asked if he was a resident here in this community. He said he came from downtown to just look at what's going on here. So we're sort of seeing looky-loos who are coming into neighborhoods that really shouldn't be in here. Fire apparatus need to make their way through these streets. Some of them can be very tight. So still very gusty winds out here in Sylmar, and this fire still burning out of control here behind me, Bob.
All right, Mario, thank you. Another fast-moving brush fire to tell you about the Eaton fire. This broke out overnight. It's destroyed buildings, forced evacuations, prompted widespread school closures. The fire was first reported at 6 last night. It was spotted, near Altadena Drive and Midwick Drive. There are mandatory evacuations in effect for areas north of New York Drive, east of Altadena Drive, west of Sierra Madre Villa Avenue. This eventually expanded to parts of Arcadia and Pasadena. Mandatory evacuations cover eastern Altadena, including areas like east of Lake Avenue and large portions of northern Pasadena. People in Sierra Madre face orders north of Sierra Madre Boulevard with voluntary evacuations elsewhere in the city. Arcadia officials also telling people living north of Foothill Boulevard and Orange Grove Avenue to leave immediately, and anyone needing a place to stay can head to the shelters. That's at Pasadena Convention Center on Green Street in Pasadena and the Arcadia Community Center on Campus Drive. A number of school closures including Pasadena, Glendale, Alhambra, South Pass, San Marino, La Cañada, Burbank, Arcadia, and Monrovia. So many different districts have been closed.
Let's go back out to Gigi Gracia live covering the Palisades fire for us. Gigi, this fire, nearly 3,000 acres, and again, 0% containment. This is terrifying.
It certainly is, especially for the tens of thousands of folks who have been evacuated. But before I show you what's happening here, we're getting word of another vegetation fire in the Irwindale area. 5 acres and growing, Foothill Boulevard and Irwindale Avenue in Irwindale. A vegetation fire only right now. We are keeping a close eye on that fire also. Take a look behind me. I'm on Sunset Boulevard and Chautauqua, where multiple structures are burning. Photographer Tony Butita giving you a live look at what is happening right now. And Tony, if you pan over to the right, it is covered by hedges, but it'll give you an idea of how big the fire is right here just on this corner. You can see behind the hedges there the flames. That is yet another structure, and we continuously hear the sound of things exploding. There are propane tanks. A lot of folks have barbecues in the backyard with propane tanks. We hear the sound of explosions. That is another structure that continues to burn. We're also watching as more and more fire resources move into the area. It has been a very long 20 hours or so for firefighters since the Palisades fire broke out at 10:30 yesterday morning. Multiple structures have been lost. Today we saw on different corners, Rustic Lane, on Rivas Canyon, homes burning. The toll will be high. It may be days until we know exactly how many structures are lost. But as we've been saying earlier, this story is going to be much more than just homes and houses and structures that were lost. There are a lot of people that have been injured with serious burns. We can exclusively confirm that a man was found on Pacific Coast Highway early this morning or late last night. He was stumbling. He was found. The clothes on his body were basically burnt off. He had serious burns, had to be intubated immediately. Doctors doing their best to save that man's life, but he is in extremely critical condition. And of course, our LA City firefighter with a serious head injury suffered yesterday. We were actually listening to the scanner traffic, and we heard that mayday call of a firefighter down. That, of course, for firefighters is one of the worst calls they can get. They immediately started doing what's called personal accountability report, where each team leader checks on their members, checks on their firefighters to make sure everyone is okay. That firefighter, we're told, 25 years old, taken to the hospital with a very serious head injury. And this is in addition to the burn patients and smoke inhalation patients that were rushed to the hospital. Yesterday by around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you had at least 2-3 people that had already been transported to the hospital. So the story is going to be much more than just structures lost, but the damage is severe. The winds continue to fan those flames. That ember cast continues to be pushed 1 to 5 miles ahead, so they are fighting continuously spot fires. And as Bob and Brooke have been telling you, this is just one of 3 major fires that are burning in the Los Angeles area. Mario Ramirez has been live with excellent coverage in Sylmar. We have the Eaton fire, which continues to prompt mandatory evacuation orders. We don't have a count of how many people are under an evacuation order, but early this morning at around midnight, a mandatory evacuation order actually went out for Santa Clarita, the Calgrove area. Those folks told to get out. Get out now. I have friends. They all came to my house when they were evacuated. They made it through the 5 freeway, the 5, the 14, the 210. You could clearly see the Sylmar fire, but because the winds are so erratic, and firefighters use the word erratic, and it's always a little bit disconcerting when they do, but they use it when they talk about the fire behavior. It's not the normal fire behavior that you saw 10 years ago. They talk about the erratic winds, which pushes the fire in each and every direction at given times. So erratic fire behavior, erratic winds, certainly challenging for our firefighters and for all the firefighters from different agencies that are here in the Los Angeles area to help LA City Fire, to help Los Angeles County Fire in this major emergency. 3 fires burning, and we're getting word of a fire in Irwindale. It is at 5 acres. It is a vegetation fire. Units are there now, and of course we're going to keep you posted on that fire too. Bob and Brooke?
Gigi, actually Sandra joined us now here. I just wanted to point out, we did talk to LA City Fire this morning, and they said that they had to ground their air assets, that first of all, the winds are so strong, sometimes gusts over 80 miles per hour, that it's just simply too dangerous for those air assets to be in the air. That had nothing to do with nighttime drops, because they do that now frequently, or they have the capability to do that. But they also said because those winds were so strong, they really wouldn't be effective. So the hope is that at some point, you know, you can get the air assets up there. In the meantime, you have all of those ground crews here who have been working round the clock. And basically right now, it's just an effort to save lives and protect property.
And they're doing their best, but Bob, you know, we've seen at least, I don't know, 8 to a dozen homes. There are firefighters staged here at Chautauqua and Sunset Boulevard, but we were up at Rivas Canyon. We were up at Rustic Lane. There were no firefighters there, as houses were just burning to the ground. Unclear if the houses were just beyond saving and they had to dedicate their resources to areas where they could save homes. Unclear if they just don't have the manpower to get to those homes. They're doing the best they can under extremely challenging circumstances. We don't usually have Santa Ana winds in January. Did you just hear that?
Yeah.
Something just exploded. We're hearing transformers blow, propane tanks. A tree just caught fire. As you can see, thank you, Tony Butita. You're exactly where you're looking at exactly what I wanted to look at. Again, Sunset and Chautauqua, behind those hedges, something is burning, a structure, obviously. You can see how the wind is just fanning the flames. And I just posted a little video on X that showed embers just going down the street. And they're actually embers from another house that's on fire that's not even on this corner, and they were just moving down the street. Those embers can travel, according to firefighters, anywhere from a mile. They've seen them as far as 5 miles away. So that's how challenging these fires are. Earlier, Bob, you and I were talking about fire coverage. You know, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, it is not the same fire coverage that we're seeing now, because it's not the same fire behavior. And firefighters will tell you there used to be a fire season in California, in Southern California. We knew that come November, the Santa Anas were going to blow in those infamous Santa Ana winds, and most likely if a fire were to start, it would quickly spread. And we see that every year. We saw it in November. We saw it in December. We saw those homes lost in the Camarillo area, in Ventura County. We saw homes lost in Malibu. We've been covering all of these fires. That is typical fire behavior for Southern California. January and Santa Ana winds are not typical, and this is posing such a challenge for our firefighters, which we know they are doing the best. Their priorities are to save people, property, and pets, or people, pets, and property. They're doing the best, and no firefighter, I mean, it truly hurts their heart when they see structures lost. They see this all too often, and they're doing their best against extremely challenging conditions.
All right, Gigi, thank you so much. You and Tony out there, please stay safe as we check back in with you throughout the morning on this violent fire, multiple fires in the Southern California area at this point, but we're taking a live look at the Palisades fire right now. And we want to say good morning to you. I'm Sandra Endo in for Brooke this morning at this point.
I'm Bob DeCastro. Yeah, welcome to Good Day LA. It's been an extraordinary night with multiple fires burning all across LA County. We have at least 3 fires that are now burning. Homes have burned, thousands more now threaten. Fires burning out of control in several areas: Pacific Palisades, Sylmar. We also have a fire near Altadena. At 8 o'clock this morning, we are expecting an update on all of these fires. For now, crews continue their best to save lives and property. Nearly 24 Southern California school districts are canceling classes today, and this is a list that is going to continue to expand throughout the morning, but we'll begin to go through these districts in alphabetical order. All schools in Alhambra, Arcadia, Azusa, Baldwin Park, and Burbank.
We're also talking about schools in Duarte, El Monte, closed for today, Glendale, La Cañada, and Los Virgenes as well. Monrovia, Mountain View, Pasadena, Rosemead, and San Marino, those all remain closed for today.
Santa Monica, Malibu Unified, Santa Monica College's Malibu campus will also be closed. Temple City and Valle Lindo school districts also closed. Students should not report to campus. And also Pali Charter High School, which was damaged last night, no classes today. 13 classes under the LA Unified School District will be closed today. That includes Brentwood Magnet Canyon Elementary School, Diego Rivera Learning Complex, the Kenter Canyon Elementary Charter, and the Marquez Charter Elementary.
Palisades Charter Elementary School as well, Palisades Elementary, Paul Revere Charter Middle School, Topanga Elementary Charter, and University High School, as well as Woodland Hills Academy. Those all will be closed today because of the damaging fires. Let's go out to Samada because she has been saying all morning long we're still not out of the worst of this.
Yeah, good morning, Sandra, to you and Bob, and to all our viewers joining us at this hour. We are definitely not out of the woods yet. This is still peak winds that will continue into the early part of this morning. Red flag conditions remain in place, and we're still under the particularly dangerous situation when you combine critical fire weather with those highly damaging winds and low relative humidity, that if any new spark were to occur, it could rapidly explode. The fire growth quickly spreading as well, and we're seeing that unfold, especially in the Palisades fire area where Gigi has been giving us those very dramatic images. Our hearts do go out to all those victims in and around that fire zone. Northeast winds have been very strong. These are sustained wind velocities around 30 to even 33 miles an hour. Gusts have been topping 50 miles an hour in that area, and you can see why it continues to be a very dangerous situation, life-threatening and widespread destruction. There's a potential for downed trees and power lines, and that could lead to additional power outages. We take you over to the Hearst fire, that it's the latest big fire that began right around 10:29 p.m. last night. We have acres, 500, 0% containment, and similar wind conditions there. Out towards the Eaton Canyon fire that broke out yesterday around 6:23 in the evening, we've got gusts topping 46 miles an hour, and it continues to not be out of the question that gusts could still range between 60 to even 80 miles per hour as these winds continue to blow through Southern California. We'll slowly start to notice wind conditions subsiding a little, just a little, as we approach the afternoon hours, as high wind warnings remain in place till about 6 p.m. But after 6 p.m., more noticeable winds subsiding by later tonight. Here's a look at our strongest winds so far within the last 24 hours. We have been advertising, we have been warning people that hurricane force winds could be on its way, and unfortunately, sure enough, it became a reality. Magic Mountain Truck Trail, we had winds clocking in at 86 miles an hour, and that's an area of the San Gabriel Mountains. Fremont Canyon, Santa Ana Mountains at 80 miles an hour. Running Springs, San Bernardino County at 74. Eaton Canyon and Rancho Cucamonga, the range of 60s and 70s. This is a widespread wind event, so it's not the particular wind-prone locations. Locations that typically don't see winds as strong are now seeing it due to this very active system. We have an area of low pressure and the backside of that low working with an area of high pressure, and those winds going offshore is what's creating these very dangerous and very critical conditions. We have a wind look ahead right around now into the next couple hours. You can see here the highlighted contours. Those are locations where winds are the strongest. Not a whole lot of relief going into the next hour, where a lot of people are going to be hitting the roads, heading out to work. If you can avoid doing so, it would be probably a good idea. If you're traveling with those big rigs or campers, reroute your travel plans. Perhaps travel tomorrow or into Friday. If you have to head out along the 5 corridor or the 14, the 15, if you're heading out to the high desert communities. Look at 9 o'clock this morning, still very strong, and it won't be until the afternoon that you'll slowly see those brightly lit locations get a little less dim, meaning that winds will slowly start to diminish. By 4 p.m. and through the evening, a whole lot better. This is what we're looking forward to, so that way firefighters can get a much better handle on those conditions. And we continue to remind folks, because it is still very windy, powerful Santa Ana's still part of the forecast, and red flag conditions still in place. If a new fire were to occur, again, it could rapidly spread. So stay up to date with the forecast. Make sure you have an evacuation plan. Know your evacuation routes. If you are evacuating and if you get separated, make sure you have a designation point where to meet, and your get ready, get set, and go bag. Emergency kit ready. Life, of course, the most important thing. Pets, make sure you have your important papers, prescription, your pictures that you can't replace, and have some cash or some credit cards, so that way you're prepared for any emergencies that could arise. Again, a reminder, the breakdown through today, widespread damaging wind storm continues, extreme wildfire danger, and that potential for more downed trees and power lines that could lead to additional power outages. And also, if you are traveling, we do have traffic conditions to, again, point to. And as a reminder, stay away from the fire zone, especially through PCH, Palisades Fire closures to Mescal Canyon Road to Las Flores Canyon Road. That is the Malibu area, extending all the way to Pacific Palisades, and Topanga Canyon Boulevard from Mulholland all the way to PCH closed due to red flag conditions. And closures near the Hearst fire, westbound side of the 210 at Yarnell Street to Roxford Street, northbound side of the 5 at the 210 connector, also shut down until further notice. And even the local roadways, stay away, avoid the area if, again, you're not supposed to be there. Back to you, too.
All right, Samantha, thank you. And speaking of the Hearst fire, that's where Mario Ramirez has our coverage on that. Let's check in with him.
Yeah, and I will say the fire is still raging. Sam Dubin behind the camera. I want to show you the flames that are making their way downhill here. We're at the Oak Ridge Mobile Estates community, a private community, and there are still residents here in the area that are evacuating. I have one family here. They're actually turning around. I asked where you're headed. They said they don't know, but away from here. So walk me through what this has been like for you all. Let me ask you guys in the back. What has this been like for you all? I know your mom is a little stressed up front.
I mean, it's nerve-wracking. You got people out here losing their homes. You got family, you know, under constant little stress. You know, it's really scary. You got people out here. You wonder if the neighbors are out. They're getting out of their homes okay. So, you know, right now we're just trying to get up out of this area. We're just trying to get to someplace safe, and we're praying for everybody. Was there any sort of alert or any type of emergency alert on your phones to leave home? There's constant alerts that's coming through over the phone. We just hope that everybody's getting them, you know, especially the people who didn't go to bed early, the older people who don't know. We just hoping that everybody gets out safe.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you. Appreciate you talking to us. Stay safe. So they're sort of trying to figure out exactly where to go from here because there hasn't been much time to prepare. So as we look here at these flames, I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on here. The Hearst fire started at about 50 acres around 10 o'clock last night, quickly growing to 500 acres in a few hours. And of course, driven by those high winds that we've been feeling since yesterday and dry vegetation here in the area. Now, this broke out near the freeway, the 5 freeway, where it meets the 14 and the 210 freeways. Several areas under mandatory evacuations, which means leave now, and they include residents along Balboa Boulevard, Filbert Street, Brittle Ridge Road, and Nicholas Drive. We should also mention that a little farther north, the area near Whitney Canyon Park has also been ordered to evacuate. Evacuation warnings, which means you should be prepared to leave. They're in place for the Newhall Pass, Calgrove, and Wildwood areas. And that's basically a large portion, a large area north of the 210 freeway from Roxford Street. 3 evacuation centers have been set up. Richie Valens Rec Center on Laurel Canyon in Pacoima, Northridge Park, and the Sepulveda Recreation Center in Panama City. So we do see Panorama City, I should say. We do see fire crews here, LA County fire crews, but as we've been saying, there really is not much they can do as far as containing the fire. These winds are still whipping around. We talked about how strong they would be yesterday, sustained gusts or sustained winds at 20 to 40 miles per hour, and those gusts up to 80 miles per hour. So we've definitely been feeling it here this morning. We don't see any homes damaged right now.